everybody. Hey, we're here in the park in Crystal Palace. We're here to talk to the amazing Oral Ottey.
Oral Norrie Ottey.
He's an amazing editor that we came across because we didn't know about him. So we're here just to talk about diversity in the UK, in post-production. And yeah, we want to hear his story. We want to hear all about him. So,
Hi, hello, pleased to meet you.
Thanks so much.
Well, I mean, this is a first for me. I've been around such a long time. I feel like we've missed the boat somehow.
I just want to know how you got into this industry. How did you become a video editor?
Film editor, video editor. Well, my journey is this. I grew up wanting to be an architect. I went over to Baker Street because there was a job advertised for a trainee to an architect. And I thought that was going to be me. So I went over there and this lady said, "Oh my goodness, Oral, the job's been taken only yesterday." So I was crestfallen. I was sad. And I'm going to myself, what do I go home and tell my mother that I didn't get the job? Because I was that confident.
Yeah.
And so this lady looked at me and said, "But you know, we've got something else you could do in the meantime," which was to be a runner for a TV company doing commercials. So I took on this job, and it was, yes, working as a runner in films. And you know, those days we didn't know much about films. I didn't know much about films. And so the film speak was alien to me. Things like rushes.
Oh yeah.
Things like syncing up. Things like opticals. And so I was completely lost. People would have a whole conversation and I was just looking for,
I've been there.
One day this chap rang me and said, "Oh, there is an opening in Manchester for you and I'd like to see you in Manchester in 2 days' time."
Oh yeah.
Where were you living at the time?
I'm growing up in Herne Hill. We're in Wisconsin. All my friends are in Herne Hill, London. Never been north of the bridge, really. Vauxhall Bridge I'm talking about, apart from into Soho.
Yeah.
I didn't go anywhere because I thought, he's been to the pub, he's having a laugh. My mother thinks I'm working as a trainee architect.
Oh, so you hadn't told your mum?
No, because when I, their idea of films isn't the sort of films, they're thinking it's pornography.
Oh gosh!
Yeah. As soon as you say Soho, I mean...
Oh, exactly.
Oh, that was what it
you
was.
reckon in Soho? Okay.
That was what Soho was
Soho
famous
was
for.
that, yeah.
And I'm there. I can't say films. So...
What year would you say this was?
Oh, it's a long time ago. I'll tell you how old that will be. I was now about 19.
Okay.
So off I went, and then I met the team of people at the company called Greendale Commercials, and they did a lot of work for Granada TV at the time. And at that time, my wage was £12.50 a week.
Wow. Yeah.
So we have to have the pause.
I was like, woo, I have to think about that.
Then tell your mother you're going to go to Manchester. And then said, why are you going to Manchester? I said, well, they've promoted me to come to Manchester. And it's not architecture, Mum.
Yeah.
It's films. Oh my God, she says. You remember you're a Christian lad. This is a Christian house. What sort of films? And I said, Mum, it'll be things like Coronation Street. Ah, well, that's okay then. Because she was a fan of Coronation Street. And of course, architecture is going out the window. You see, we forget about architecture. So I'm now all consumed with this thing.
But you're starting to enjoy it, or did you feel as though...
I'm trying to do it well because I don't want to be a complete, I want to get it right. And at the same time, I've left London, which is where my architectural kind of dream was based. And then I've gone to Manchester where there's a film thing happening. And there's my mother praying for me.
Oh, I hope he's okay.
I wonder what he's doing with the frying pan. The next thing I'm doing, I'm editing inserts for Coronation Street.
Wow.
So my mum really enjoyed that because it was Coronation Street. So I'd ring her and say, "Mum, that scene when Deirdre is doing so, I did that." So now she's taking an interest in what I was doing. The fortunate thing for me is that I was working with people now who were in-house producers and directors who were then asking me to work on their stories, helping me with my confidence.
Yeah.
You know,
Wow.
and just having the right people around it. And you know, so here I am as a black person, and you're gonna go and sit at a table with 12 senior executives.
You're just. Like
It is so scary, I can't begin to tell you.
Were there any other black people of colour in that room, you think?
Only in my dreams.
Yeah.
Wow.
And I'm there. And how do you actually get through that pressure? Sometimes I don't know. I look back now to try and figure out what was going through my mind at the time.
Yeah.
So my drama experience was based on the little inserts I was doing for Coronation Street.
Yeah. Where people didn't value doing those little things,
Right.
but actually
No.
gave
Yeah.
you the confidence,
Absolutely.
and experience
Yeah.
to then instill like the confidence in other people to say, this is what I can do. So here you go. Here's a drama for you, sir. Then you're definitely up for the job.
So I remember meeting a really nice guy called Norman Swallow. He lived in Greenwich, and he worked with the likes of Ken Russell and all that. And someone mentioned me to him, and he was a knock on my door. He wanted me to do a documentary for him, as well as doing drama. So I did a documentary, and then he recommended me to somebody else who was doing a drama, and so you just get a recommendation. So you just go with this flow, and I'm now scooped up into this thing. At the same time, I didn't lose sight of my blackness. I also knew that I had to be really, really good, better than my white counterparts. Really, that was my driving force. You really, you can't afford to make a mistake. That was the thing.
Why would you say you felt that way? Like what kind of
Well, you realise that you're the only black person there. You're really carrying it for. You're carrying it for the race.
Yeah.
There's a lot riding on you. You want other people to come in. You know, and you want people to see that you're black and you can do the job.
For sure.
That was the thing that I probably didn't articulate it at the time, but it was in my head.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Oh yeah.
You know, you have to carry that. And to this day, I still carry it with me, despite my CV and despite the experience. We did something for Channel 4 called GBH much later on, and it was a big, big number, and we all got nominated for it. And but that was
BAFTA. Was it BAFTA?
BAFTA and a Royal Television Society Award and all that stuff.
Yeah.
And so.
It's still in your 20s.
Well, I'm now. When I got, I've skipped. It's a long journey.
Why
you know.
is that? You're in your 20s being nominated for BAFTA.
So I'm in my 20s. In my 20s. So I got that when I was about 28.
No, it's good to hear, because I know. I mean, my parents told me when I was growing up about the kind of working hard aspect of being someone that is black. You do have to work twice as hard. And I felt like majority of my family and friends always had that. Or you just have to work twice, it's just the way life is.
Well, I have to say, having met you guys, it gives me a bit of confidence, because you two seems to have the confidence that maybe I was portraying back in the day as well, because you've come through that thing. And I said, you come through it, you've got some experience now, and you can go and knock on that door, knowing you can do the job. Otherwise, you'd be knocking on the door.
I remember for several years starting out, so been working now nearly 11 years in editorial, and definitely feeling an element of, I wouldn't say so much intimidated walking into a room with only white colleagues, but more so that you're definitely aware of yourself. And then having that thought of, okay, I really can't mess up now.
Yeah.
Because you kind of carry a certain weight on your shoulders that if I don't exceed in this, then excel in this, then someone else whose personal colour won't be able to either.
Well, absolutely.
And you do, and it's really sad actually to.
You shouldn't be thinking.
That at
not
all, because what part of this industry is just loving storytelling and being creative. But then if you also have to think, oh, you know, I'm frightened about being in this room because people are judging me based on how I look.
Yeah.
My skin colour, of all things. It's sad to think that that's what we're fighting
And
over.
that you can't hide.
And that you can't
can't
hide.
You can't hide that at all.
And a lot of, I think maybe in particular in the UK, having spoken to US black editors, they feel like not only in London do you have the colour divide or factor, it's also class as well. You find I found a lot of upper sort of middle class people in the industry, particularly in post-production, more so than working class. So if you're black and working class, it's almost like forget it.
Yeah.
So when I got in, I didn't see anyone who resembled me or anyone of my class actually in the cutting room for several years. I'm talking maybe within the last 2 or 3 years that I actually met other black colleagues and in editorial and working class people coming up through the ranks. And I think that's maybe what sets us apart from America, that we've got this class divide in film and television.
We have, and sometimes in the editing room, because of that, you became the quiet voice. Nobody turns and asks you an opinion.
Yes.
Because they've already judged your opinion doesn't matter. Put it that way.
Right. Yeah.
Well, what school did you go to? I mean, did you go to a fancy film school? No, you didn't. So know your place and quiet.
Just,
You know, and yeah. I mean, I wasn't fortunate enough to go to university, and as you know, the industry is now full of university grads. You know?
Film graduate.
Film school. If you haven't gone to film school, you feel like, oh, I don't have a place here.
And yet, I don't think you have to go to film school.
Yeah.
No, not at all.
Really. You know, a few people come up from film school and they come into the editing room and you go, right, okay, put the kettle on.
Oh yeah.
And you can see their crestfallen straight away. Yeah. Because I've just did 3 years and you asked me to make your coffee. Well, hello. I had to go through that.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people don't realise that's actually the foot in the door that you need.
I still get to make people's coffee. They go, no, don't do that. I say, I'll make your coffee.
Yeah.
So, but my reason, sometimes I just need time to think.
Yeah. Oh, it's a good way to. Oh, I'm really happy. That's great.
So, how are you guys finding it now? Now that you've got your years of experience now behind you, what's your next move?
Oh man.
Where are you aiming? What are you aiming for?
It's so because I'm newer than Ruth's been in it longer than I have, but I've also come from a freelance background, so I do notice the divide, like the clear line of people that are outside the industry and people inside the industry, and it did put me off a little bit. I must say, I came in and I was like, oh, there's no one here of colour, and it was a bit shocking, to be honest. I thought it was totally different. I knew there was going to be not as many, but to literally be the only one was quite a shock. I feel like almost like we need to be in the industry. And there was a time I felt like maybe this is not for me, but actually I think it needs people.
Well, you hope that in time.
I
hope that in time it will happen. I know there's a few of us now scattered. That's the other thing, we don't know who is around.
We don't know who's around. Yeah.
No,
but it needs it.
Part of this journey, I mean, I've known Francine now maybe 3 or 4, maybe 3 years or so. But really, over the years, we've been talking about where are we? Where are people like us, like black people
in the industry?
And I think really, it's always frustrated me. But I think, if we touch on Black Lives Matter, the movement with George Floyd, there's been it seems like more of an awareness in the industry, particularly in the US and in the UK, where we're starting to talk about the lack of diversity in film and television. The creative behind the camera, not so much in front of the camera, that's a separate conversation, but if we're talking about creatives who create the content, I think recently, maybe last month, during lockdown, people starting to say, hold on a minute, is there a problem here in the UK? Yeah. Even though I've been saying it for about 10 years, can I say? But I think people outside the AME community, so white colleagues and such, have been saying, is there really been questioning if there's a problem here? And I would say there is. But I think there's no point kind of constantly talking about that there's definitely racism, but how can we tackle that? How are there certain solutions? So that's why Fran and I kind of came together and thought about creating a Facebook group. We started there really, where we can connect with other black people who work in post production, because we just didn't know
I think here's how we're gonna have to do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to do it like how they do it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to grasp nepotism, if you like.
Yeah.
That's what they do.
It's so true.
We're always afraid of bringing our own in because we just don't want to expose them to that kind of thing which you've struggled to come through.
Yeah.
I think I can't bring my mates through and let them watch them struggle. Can they deal with that?
Right.
But we're going to have to say, come on in.
Yeah.
This is what, just, try and open the door for them.
Yeah. And I don't even think it's necessarily, I think there are enough training sort of, people talk about, well, there's no point employing people of colour if they don't have the correct training. But I don't necessarily think you need training, because the entry level jobs are there that you can shadow. I didn't have any type of editing training, if there is such a thing. I shadowed editors. That's what you do.
You don't get that at the film school.
No, you just pick up, if anything, if you're fortunate enough, you can just pick up a camera and self-teach. I mean, there's so much out there for youngsters on YouTube, etc., to learn how to do these
They've
things.
got access now to
They
stuff.
have so much more. But for me, particularly, it was just sitting in the cutting room and just watching. I didn't do any kind of avid training or anything like that. I just watched, and you just learn on the job.
Yes.
So I don't think it's the fact that we have to train people well to get the job. I think it's just having the door open to allow people who, black people, let's just focus on that, who can come in. And I feel like the only way, for me, for a long time, it felt like I can only do that until I'm in a position of hire. So I'm a first assistant editor now, so I know that if I go onto a new film, the post-production supervisors or the UPM is most likely going to ask me, who do you want as your second? Who do you want as your trainee?
Yeah.
And I'm not afraid now to say, you know what, I want to make sure the person who's also in the cutting room is black. That's it for me.
But also, for you need to make sure they can do that job. Because you don't want to do them harm by bringing them in and suddenly, oh my goodness, because it reflects on you. But it's really important to have that kind of presence of, we live in a multicultural society, and it's not represented.
It's not represented. I think that's the truth, especially in London, where you think there's so many people of different cultures, and you look in the cutting room, you look behind the scene, behind the camera, and there's literally no one else. You might find someone from South Korea, you might find one person from India, and that's it.
And it might even be disappointing. It might be even a black show. You think, I would love to have contributed to that.
Right.
One person who tries hard to get diversity in editorial and in the film crew is Lenny Henry, because when I reckon, when he heard that I was on the show, there was a knock on the door, and he just got his knighthood. In walks Sir Lenny Henry.
Forget his knighthood. Forget. Yeah.
and he was genuinely happy. And I think he got Ron Bailey, the sound recordist, on the show as well. And he was doing this thing called Danny and the Human Zoo.
Okay.
It was about his life. It was about his life of coming to England. It's about racism that he had to go, been in a black and white minstrel show and all that stuff, and meet his mum. And and so he was very much aware of representing that diversity, because he's been around a long time. He knows that he's been having this fight with the BBC and ITV, and they never make films that say a black person could be. Why can't it be a black star? Why does it have to be someone who's a maid or something like that?
No, honestly.
I feel like for a long time I was feeling, if it's a diverse story, please make the effort to hire black crew at the very least. And I still haven't watched it, but not for this reason. But I May Destroy You was so successful, but I couldn't really get into it because I knew that post-production were white.
I watched it.
And that
I
kind
watched
of
it. Yeah,
I shouldn't feel like I can't watch certain programs because of lack of diversity. But honestly, I feel like
shows as well.
It's most shows, so and even if they've got a full black cast, the writers are even white. And I'm just like, what is going on here?
Well, Yeah, I mean, that's a weird one because I was watching I May Destroy You. I also find myself watching something called Chewing Gum.
Yeah.
And I actually thought I was watching I May Destroy You, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Well, it's the same. Leach,
It's
yeah.
the same.
Well, it was almost kind of
Yeah.
same stuff. They must have got the same people to.
I bet they probably did actually. Probably had the same crew. You know how it is in film anyway.
Oh,
They kind of
right.
like
They just reuse
bring
the
on.
same people, yeah.
But she's currently a flavour that they're running with now. I'm just wondering how long before they start bringing her down.
I know.
That's the other thing.
I know. It's sad to say, but it's true. There's always going to be someone that is popular
Yeah.
of our culture at one time. And you're right. It's like she's really killing it right now, and I hope
You know,
it's genuine from
She-
the background. You know, from the people behind the scenes.
she's doing it. She's got a presence on TV. She's doing that BBC thing. It was only about half an hour, but even so, the reviews were reviews actually.
Rave reviews. Really good. And she's been around for. I mean, I've been following her for a little while, but I do notice that. I mean, there is this. You know, not to sound really mean, but we are like the flavour of the month right now. Like black people are like, it's like popular.
Yeah, we go through that.
You know?
That's why I said, how long will it take
exactly?
before it then?
Because it happened
Right.
with hip hop, it happened with our clothing, it happened with hair,
Yeah.
and it's true. It's like okay, we're now being represented in TV on screen,
Yeah.
but behind the scenes is still a problem that we're looking at. It's very interesting to see.
So, editorially, what do you think people like us should be doing?
I know it's one thing I was thinking about, and I guess the only thing we could do from a kind of small foundation level is just to try and hire our own to start with.
Yeah.
You know, it is a very recommendation. It's a very who you know industry. So it is a case of if you do know. I mean, obviously everyone wants to work with a good team, and you don't want to. There is this thing of like risking hiring someone new that you don't know. But
Well,
I guess
there
what
is
we
that.
can do, yeah, that's why actually trying to meet people
You know
on
what?
a social level.
We also need to have some sort of social thing
Mm.
where we all come together. Call it
You'll know it.
networking,
Right,
and
exactly.
just introduce.
So we can know each other, and
I
then
know
I
that
can
you're
know you
out
to be
there.
like, hey,
Yeah.
I know that person. I met them at that event. I
Because
can
just
now bring
imagine
them
you've been around. It's first time meeting.
Yeah,
Exactly.
exactly.
And you've actually
we didn't know
Actually,
you existed. Do you?
you've been in my world in terms of people you've worked
Yeah.
with.
Right, it's crazy.
But this is the thing, people who do the hiring wouldn't necessarily say Ruth Antoine is black. They wouldn't necessarily introduce me
So
like
how-
that way. So that's why I feel like we haven't been able to connect, because no one's ever told me that there is a black editor. I've been
Yeah.
asking about it, but it's almost feeling, I kind of want to get rid, this is talking for myself.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to get rid of that fear of saying,
Of saying, do you know the
do you know
black
anyone black?
Yeah.
But you
But
know
why
what?
should we be afraid
Why?
of saying
Why
it?
should we? But
But
honestly,
I know
there's been
exactly what you mean.
Yeah.
but you know what I'm saying? But honestly, there was a huge conflict, outrage on Twitter recently when a black editor said, hey, is there any other black editors here? And or I'm looking to hire a black editor.
Yeah.
And the outrage, I mean, talking viral, it
Yeah.
spread. There were so many comments, so many
Great.
vile comments. And I felt, wow, if
Yeah.
I'm gonna set up a black, which we've set up a black post-production group on Facebook to connect with black creatives in post-production. But even within half an hour that I had posted it live on Facebook, I already got people saying, well, I feel excluded. Why are you doing that? I think you should change the wording. It shouldn't be black. I was like, are you scared of the word black, or are you scared
It is
because
a
I'm
bit
just
of
want to...
They're now going to question you.
Yeah. And it's just like, I'm not saying we should solely be the ones only have black creatives in the industry. Come on, no, I'm not. You know,
Yeah.
it's include like I just
We're
feel
meant to have
like
a bit of a reality of
true representation
Mm.
of the world, the population,
world,
people who's
actually.
going to be engaging in this content. How about everybody look? How about it's a
there is
true
people are still
reflection?
afraid of
Just,
the term black.
just
People
the
are afraid
word.
of
Of the word. So I got a call from HBO. It's kind of weird. She's like, I'm showing off though. I got a call from
name drop,
HBO.
it's fine.
What do you
I love
mean?
it.
It's kind of weird. I'm driving home and there's a call from HBO. And I said, I'm driving, I can't really take the call right now. So, I'm talking to these producers of the show. They're young guys, and there's a guy called Frank Dolger who I know quite well.
Okay.
And he's an exec. And so they said, we want to talk to you. And because I can tell you, I worked in a show after Band of Brothers, long time after Band of Brothers, called Rome, and that was quite a successful show, and it was HBO, and a couple of characters on that show, I'd worked with them, producers, etc. And they called me and said, right, we're sending you this film. This is the first show of Game of Thrones. We want to have a look at it. I want to have a discussion. And then they said, right, so we would like you to join us, and we would like you to do the first episode. I got nominated twice for Emmy on Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
I didn't go to any of these things.
Oh wow.
You know, in my head I was thinking, I'm never going to get those things. I've been nominated 5 times for an Emmy. 5 times. Band of Brothers. I did a show called Generation Kill with guy who did The Wire. What's his name? David Simon. Nice bloke. We did. I did a show called A Lot of Happiness. I was nominated for Dinotopia. And nominated again for another episode of Game of Thrones, which was Red Wedding.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. You know.
That was literally my favourite.
You know.
There was like 3 episodes that I
And
remember
every time they found an excuse, because everyone was saying, "Oh, get your tuxedo ready.
You know,
You're just going to walk
Yeah.
this." I said, "Oh, I can't be bothered going to." Plus, I was busy doing something else. I said, "Greg, if you go, you just go and represent me, man."
Yeah.
Well, anyway, it's typical the way they do these things. They give it to I tell you, they gave it to. It's a good show actually, but they take it in turns to give it to shows.
Yes.
They gave it to Breaking Bad.
Oh. Damn it.
But because at the time, I have to say, the Red Wedding made headlines even here in the papers.
It was
really
epic.
did. Yeah.
I think I called family after I watched the episode.
People
Just like,
people watched it, and the reaction, as an editor, that's what you dream of, a reaction to something you've worked on.
right.
And you hear people on the bus talking.
Thinking about it.
And you know, fuck, they're talking about
What you created.
contribution that I've been involved in. I just want to go and say, right on, bro. But you just,
It was me.
yeah.
That's me, I did it.
You know, I remember going to a wedding in far down in Salisbury, and we all went up, and this was a black wedding. And I remember a few of us went to a restaurant, and some university kids were there humming the opening track. I thought, what?
I think after that season, that was it. That was it after that. It was like, it just, I don't know what happened.
They lost it. Well, I actually left after that season 3.
Really? Yeah.
I'm not saying, but you know, people say it's your fault you left. Yeah.
So how many years? 2 years? 3 years?
I did 3 seasons.
3
with them.
seasons.
Yeah.
I did 3 seasons with them. I did some good episodes with them actually.
Of all the projects that you've worked on, would you say that is your most favourite, or do you have a favourite project that you've worked on?
Well, I have shows that get good reaction. Like, considering I didn't want to do Band of Brothers, I went on to do 1 episode of Band of Brothers, and they asked me to do 3.
Okay, yeah.
And those 3, I was very proud of those. You know, so and that show still has shelf life.
Yeah.
It started well and ended well.
So would you say your creative process is? So do you view, so you're saying, do you view the dailies, rushes, then sit back, kind of cut it in your mind before you go to the machine?
Yeah, you can't just, the machine is always going to be ready. You need to be ready.
Right.
And so I will edit the story in your head and see how it, because even when I'm viewing, I'm editing in my head as I go along. Sometimes I don't bother to view, I just go along with it, and I pretend like I don't know the story. Because even when I read the stories for Game of Thrones, I know what might happen, but then throw it out of your head. So you then try to be in the viewer's POV. This difficult one, that.
That's.
And how would you say your relationship? Do you usually have a really close relationship with the director in the cutting room, do you interact a lot during production, during the shoot, or do you kind of like to have your space to assemble quietly and then in post come together creatively?
Yeah, I can do. You know, sometimes you have directors who want you to talk to them and nurse them through and tell them how great they are. You have others who say, "Oh, I haven't heard from you," because I've kind of left them alone.
Yeah. Like, what's happening?
There are those who then, when they see me walking on set, they go, "Oh God, the editor's arriving on set." it's great as a black person arriving on the set. They got the editors arriving and say, ooh.
What I thought also would be really interesting for us to discuss is if you think, do you feel as though there's a lot more conversation, a lot more content featuring people with diverse backgrounds, and do you now feel like you're just going to be employed solely to create that content?
I don't like that to see. I don't like to be pigeonholed.
Pigeonholed, yeah.
And if it's a black thing, therefore,
You then have to
yeah,
do it,
because
yeah.
it's the same thing we're trying to fight against. You hope that you can get onto those white dramas, and if you like, as a black person, without saying, it's going to be filmed in the Caribbean, and therefore, and it's a black story. We want to be able to work on that too.
Yeah.
But we want to work on the other things. We want to work on the Game of Thrones. We want to work on those things that Netflix or indeed Amazon may have out there. And there's some good stuff out there. We want to be on that too.
Yeah. I heard an American assistant say there was a comment. He said, he told his friend he was working on a Marvel film, and he was just like, I didn't know that they hired brothers. Like, I didn't know that they hired black people. And he was like, fair enough. Like, you just think, it's the wrong thing to think, but actually, why would he think that? It's kind of true. When you look at it, you think actually there's no one like him in that. Well, it was in America, so probably had a few more people, but it is kind of shocking. If I tell people what I do, like, people are like, really? Oh, okay.
You do
That's
that.
interesting.
Well, we had that film which I haven't seen, which is a black superheroes. What was it called? Black Panther. I haven't seen that.
Oh,
It was good. I mean, and you know that was a top earning film
Roasting.
because
huge.
it takes away that famous kind of somebody made that black films don't sell.
Yeah.
I just remember the story about like Color Purple.
Right.
And should have won Steven Spielberg his first. He didn't. He had to do Schindler's List before he could win recognition.
He wasn't gonna pick
This-
up. Whoopi Goldberg should have received an Oscar for that.
Oh, man, we had all those guys. We had
Incredible
even Oprah was on it, and she was good.
Yeah,
wasn't she?
Oprah Winfrey
Yeah.
was killing that. Right, it is shocking because it's been proven as well sometimes that black films are very successful. They earn a lot of money, but we don't get the recognition in the awards. We don't get the recognition with our other white counterparts.
Well, that's
but
why
the
there's
money
a
is
big.
speaking. But it's
Remember, there was a big outcry at the Oscars.
huge.
White
Oscar so
Oscars.
white, yeah.
Oscars so white.
And BAFTAs.
And BAFTAs. Well, I mean, even
It's the same.
BAFTAs.
BAFTAs in the US.
BAFTAs.
Yeah.
And I guess the only, how can we change that? And it starts really from the top
Yeah.
in terms of scripts and the finance. 'Cause, if they ask a black person to make a film, they're not going to give them the same kind of finance as they give to white companies.
Yeah.
They just know that.
Yeah. And it is it's an unconscious bias now from people that are even coming up, just knowing this is the way it is and this is the way it's always been.
Yeah.
So they don't feel uncomfortable because it's the way it's always been. Whereas someone like us with brown skin will come in and be like, oh, this is awkward. For them to be the only white person in the room is very strange. And they'll be like, why is this happening?
Well, absolutely.
We're like, what is this? Someone get me out quickly.
They'll be out there like a shark.
They'll be like calling police, But for us, it's absolutely normal. I mean, now in this day and age, everyone's talking about the technical side of things. But I do, a lot of people that I've spoken to in the industry don't really talk about the technical side as much because you can learn that.
Yeah, that will come. And actually, technology is always moving. Oh yeah, the best advice I could give to an assistant editor is don't lose focus, stay engaged in the editing room, and always put your hands up, always ready to put your hands up to maybe doing some assembly work or seeing how they can help the editor. And sometimes, just having a look at the cut, because the editor might turn to you and say, what do you think? Has ever that happened to you?
Yeah,
before?
That's true.
And to be able to do that and just be there on time, and at the end of the day you want to be editors,
Yeah.
so you're going to do everything possible to get on that ladder. Now you've met me, feel free to approach me anytime. I think I'm approachable,
Yeah, of course you are. Yes.
I mean, I was more frightened when you guys, I saw you guys going, oh God, I said to Winifred, you better pray for me. And let's meet other people too. We should, it'd be great to have a kind of together somewhere.
Yeah,
Sure.
well, we're definitely trying to develop this collective of black post-production creatives. So we've got about 30 members already who work in post-production, and it would be good to do a bit more like social meetups and stuff like that. So we'll definitely let you know when that's happening.
Well, it's inspiring for me personally that there is someone in a position like an editor that I know, it can happen. Representation is important.
Yeah.
And knowing that it's possible,
And always feel free to reach out, because it might be something you need to reach me for.
Yeah.
Vice versa, I might reach out to you and say, look, I need help.
My motto is you can't be who you can't see. So there you are. Exactly. You're very role model for the younger generation coming up, and thank you so much.
Well, it's been a pleasure, and I'm absolutely I feel privileged that you reached out to me too. Well, that's a wrap.
Yes.
That's a wrap party, everybody.